Hi there, friends. I hope you are doing well on this Monday. Today, we are going to be talking about three things that you absolutely must do if you are interested in freelance health content writing. So, over the past couple of weeks, I've been having a lot of conversations with people, with health professionals, pharmacists who are interested in freelance health content writing. And the reason we've been having a lot of conversations over the past couple of weeks is because enrollment for the May cohort of health professionals to health writers has begun. So originally it was open only to folks who are on the wait list, and then enrollment opened up to the public not too long ago. But as a part of our meet and greet calls, where I get to know the applicants and they get to know more about the program, one of the questions that I always ask is, what are some barriers that you have faced? Anything that has stopped you or slowed you down from making the transition to become a freelance health content writer? What things have gotten in your way? And one of the most common responses is that a lack of awareness that health content writing was even a thing has been a barrier, but that once you become aware of the space and of the opportunity, that you then don't know how to get started. So lack of awareness, and then that barrier it transitions into not really knowing how to get started down the path of becoming a freelance health content writer. So what I thought we could talk about today are the three foundational must do things that health professionals need to be doing if one of your goals is to become a freelance health content writer. So we can go ahead and dive into that. But before we do, in case this is your first time hearing one of my videos or stumbling across my LinkedIn account, my name is Megan Freeland. I'm a public health pharmacist turned health content strategist, and I run a 4-month program called Health Professionals to Health Writers, which helps pharmacists and other healthcare providers learn how to replace a portion of their primary income through freelance health content writing. My area of specialty is health content writing. So if you are interested in other types of medical and health writing, you might find a bit of information around these parts. But because my specialty area is health content writing, that is primarily what I talk about. And that is what the Health Professionals to Health Writers program is limited to. So now about those three things that you need to be thinking about and doing if you are interested in going down the path of becoming a freelance health content writer. The first thing is to deepen and expand your understanding of what health content writing is, and particularly how it fits into the larger landscape of health content marketing. So health content writing is only a very small piece of a larger concept or type of marketing called health content marketing. And health content marketing is a part of a larger marketing concept called digital marketing. So there are layers and layers and levels, and health content writing is one very small piece of that layer. What helps is if you can understand what health content writing is, but also what those broader layers are and how health content writing fits into the context of all of them. When you're able to understand how it works and why it's relevant, not just from the patient education perspective, but from the marketing and business perspective as well, you will be much better positioned to be an effective health content writer because you will understand the different purposes and objectives that your writing has, that the writing that you're doing as a health content writer has. Because for you and I, right, I'm a pharmacist, you might be a pharmacist or another type of healthcare provider. And so for a lot of us, the reason that we are interested in health content writing is because we recognize that it's an opportunity to not only use our pharmacy background, our healthcare background, but also to apply like a creative and interesting lens to that, right? And create content and information that is engaging, that's interesting to people, that they can understand. So we recognize the public health benefit of creating materials through health content writing that help educate patients about important health topics. And that is very important. And that is 100% something that we get to do and be a part of through health content writing. But the thing is, again, Health content writing is a small piece of a larger framework that is health content marketing. And from the marketing standpoint, there are other considerations that companies are making when they are engaging in health content marketing campaigns that actually don't have anything to do with the patient education part. They have to do with the marketing and the business bottom line. So when I say deepening your understanding of health content writing and how it fits into health content marketing, how that fits into digital marketing, these are things that you want to enhance and increase your understanding of so that you can have a more comprehensive perspective of why health content writing is so important, not only from the public health and patient education side, but also from the business and marketing side for the companies that you would ideally be writing for. So that is step number one. The second thing that you absolutely must do if you are a health professional who wants to become a freelance health writer is you have to be able to demonstrate your skills, your experience. And when I talk about your skills and your experience, I'm not talking about your healthcare or pharmacy skills and experience. I'm talking about your writing skills and experience. People are going to want to see proof of your writing abilities. They are going to want to see a portfolio. They are going to want to see samples. So this tends to be yet another barrier, right? But when you're starting with the lack of awareness and then you move to not knowing how to get started, and then once you find out that in order to get started, you need samples, then it's like, okay, well, I don't have samples. So that's yet another barrier I'm facing. And so I get the frustration if you are in the position of not having samples or a portfolio to show. But hopefully it is reassuring to you to know that most healthcare providers do not have a portfolio or samples to show because health content writing is just not something that we are typically introduced to. So one of your questions might be, okay, well, if I don't have a portfolio right now, then what do I do? How do I create a portfolio, or how do I create samples so that if a potential client is asking me for proof of my writing ability, that I'll have something to show them? And my suggestion, I actually have a video on my YouTube channel, Health Writing for Health Professionals, that has a couple of suggestions on how to create samples. But what I'll say here today is that don't feel like you absolutely have to go and work for an actual client in order to get samples. It's totally possible to create samples on your own. You might, publish on a website, you might publish on something like Medium, you might start a blog, even though that is way more the reason that I don't recommend starting a formal blog is because you end up spending so much time and energy into the actual building and maintenance of the blog, technically, that you then waste time that you could be using to do other things. So think about easy ways to publish health content information. In terms of how do you know like what to write about in your portfolio, in your samples? You don't have someone assigning you this as a piece of work. So, how do you figure out what your topics are going to be? I recommend thinking about what topics you might want to write about as a freelance health content writer. And put on your clinical hat, right? Put on your pharmacy hat, your physician hat, your nurse hat, whatever, and think about the questions that real people, real clients, real patients, their families, your loved ones, whoever you interact with on a daily basis, think about the questions that people are asking you about those topics and use that as inspiration to figure out what you can write about, right? I know from personal experience that there are questions healthcare providers get all the time from family members, from loved ones, from friends. Think about those. Think about questions that real patients have asked you and use those as ideas for topics to write about. Another thing that you can do is visit existing health related publications for inspiration and ideas. So you don't want to just go to a website and completely lift that article and like pretend like it's your own. That's plagiarism, not okay. We don't do that. But you can use those topics as inspiration for what you might want to write about in your portfolio post. Maybe you have a different perspective on a particular topic. Maybe you want to expand a particular topic. Maybe you want to dive deeper on a particular topic. Um, excuse me, use the information that you find in those publications as a starting point and as a source of inspiration to determine what you might want to write about for your portfolio posts. One second. Okay, so that's number 2, demonstrate your skills and experience. This is non-negotiable, y'all. The third thing that you must do if you are a pharmacist or healthcare provider who is interested in going into freelance health content writing is you have to start building relationships. Freelancing requires you to interact with people, right? It requires you to go out and say, hey, these are the types of services I offer. Would you like to exchange money for these services? When you are starting out, when you are brand new, more than likely, people are not going to be coming to you proactively for your services because they don't know that you offer them. So you have to be the one who is proactively going to folks and offering your services. And so that requires relationships, right? Well, I mean, technically, it doesn't require relationships because you could go to strangers and you could offer your services, but you know, that might not be the most effective approach. What is more effective is when you're able to build relationships with people so that you are familiar with them, they are familiar with you, your interests, your work, etc. And notice I said building relationships and not building your network, because you can have a large network of people and have relationships with none of them. So focus on building relationships, not just with the representatives of like companies that you might like to write for, but with fellow writers as well. Um, Kind of an Issa Rae approach, right? Like networking horizontally or laterally can be equally as beneficial as networking with people higher up or in places that you might want to write for. Just make sure that you are not being superficial and transactional in your outreach, so that the relationships you're building are really authentic and natural. And you'll find that those relationships and building them will help increase your credibility. It will help increase visibility on your work as you start creating and publishing. And hopefully, over time, it will create interest in your work so that more companies are interested in having you write health content for their patients, clients, whomever. So, those are the 3 things that you really want to make sure to focus on if you are a pharmacist or healthcare provider who's interested in going into freelance health content writing. These are the 3 core pillars that the Health Professionals to Health Writers program is based on, that the curriculum is built around, is to help make sure that students have that deep understanding of health content marketing, that they feel confident when they're talking about it, to help them come out of the program with a strong starter portfolio, even if they've never had any type of writing experience before, and then helping them learn how to go out and build relationships so that they can start working with clients and actually secure their first client, since most of the students who come into the program brand new to health content writing don't have any background, any experience, and no prior client work. So this is what I teach my students, knowing that they are oftentimes building from scratch, which is why I feel very confident in sharing with you, who might also be building from scratch, what these 3 steps are that you need to make sure to focus on if you're hoping to make this transition. So you can take these 3 tips and run with them. You can also reach out to me if you might be interested in joining the May cohort of the Health Professionals to Health Writers program. Right now, there are 2 more spots. And enrollment will be closing in just a few weeks, or when those 2 spots are filled. So if you might be interested in joining or applying or learning more, you can just leave a comment that says "right," and I'll reach out to you. And in the meantime, I think the next time we'll do one of these videos is probably Wednesday. So hopefully I'll see you Wednesday. Have a good one.